Again,
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, it is just about 6 o'clock. Could you take roll this evening?
certainly, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor James.
Oh, wait a minute, before we start, can I just say, I am here virtually, and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if you would please do the honors of controlling this meeting and conducting this meeting, I would greatly appreciate that. And with that, Director Phipps, I am here.
Continuing with roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Trollinger,
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilman Goldsmith, Councilman Goldsmith,
He's on camera.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward,
Present.
Councilman Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We're going to get started. So at this time, I trust that council has had the opportunity to take a look at tonight's meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda for this evening?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, Councilwoman Bryant.
that we approve the meeting minute agenda for May 23rd, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approval of the meeting agenda for this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. At this time, we are going to proceed with the first of two town council public hearings for this evening. So before officially calling the first public hearing to order, I'd like to ask the acting town clerk to review the procedures for tonight's hearings. Madam Clerk, could you please review these procedures for this evening's public hearings?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Town of La Plata public hearings are conducted in the following manner: call to order, review of public notices, summary of town staff report and recommendation, questions by the town council to town staff, written documents entered into the record, speakers from the public, additional questions by the town council, closing of public hearing. Written documents for the record submitted in advance of the public hearing are provided to the presiding officer prior to the opening of the public hearing. At the appropriate time, the presiding officer will call registered speakers to the podium. Speakers who have registered to speak in advance via the town webpage will be recognized prior to speakers who register upon arrival at the public hearing. At the discretion of the presiding officer, speakers' comments may be limited to 3 minutes and may not be yielded to another person. A sign-in sheet was provided at the entry of council chambers for any public hearing attendees to register to speak if they have not already done so in advance via the town webpage. Registration to speak will end when the first public hearing is opened.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you all for joining us. I'd like to officially open this public hearing on the fiscal year 2024 fee schedule at 6:03 p.m. Madam Clerk, has the notice of public hearing been properly advertised?
Yes, for the record, this public hearing was advertised in the Southern Maryland newspaper in the May 5, 2023 issue. Copy of the advertisement is attached to the meeting agenda. Notice this public hearing was also advertised on the town webpage.
Thank you. Mr. Manuel and our town treasurer, can you provide us some recommendations as it relates to the fiscal year 2024 fee schedule?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, council or staff really has nothing else to offer. We have a balanced budget we've presented, and if it's the whale week, I can attempt to answer any questions. I know Karina was planning to be online. I'm not sure if she is yet. She's on the West Coast. So we hope to have her at some point during this evening, but I'm available to try to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Does town council or Madam Mayor have any questions for Mr. Manuel or Ms. Larson if she pops in here? No? No. Ms. Goldsmith? No. Madam Mayor? No. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, have you received any additional written statements to be included in the record for this evening?
No, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, none have been received.
Okay, we're going to proceed to public comment. I have here nobody signed up as far as speaker registration for this hearing this evening. If there's anybody here live who is here to speak on this particular public hearing, please identify yourselves. If not, we'll continue on. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to continue. Mr. Manuel, I assume you have nothing else further to add. We have no further questions from council, so we're going to move on.
Yes, sir.
All right, this concludes the public hearing of the fiscal year 2024 tax rates, and town council will hear no further comments or questions regarding this issue. Time is 6:05 p.m. Do I have a consensus from town council to proceed with legislation later on this evening on the fiscal year 2024 fee schedule? Councilwoman Brian Ward,
Yes.
Councilman Jenkins,
Yes, but I would just, I guess, add an observation or a comment. Knowing that there was no written comments and no public comment here at the hearing itself, is it sometimes to consider leaving the record open for another week in case anybody has any comments? Or would that upset the budget process? And again, knowing there's no one here to do it, but I was just, for me, as a public policy, would be want to keep it open for a week.
Mr. Manuel, do you have a comment on that?
I believe in order to keep our schedule, we need to have a first reading tonight. I'm not sure that we could conduct a first reading with leaving the record open. I think the record needs to be closed because I don't think you can take any action, not that we're taking action, but introduce the legislation with the public hearing still open. At the same time, I think the public has had adequate the ability to express their opinions, whether for or against this budget, and we have heard nothing. Does not mean there may be some people with opinions out there, but I think the town has provided adequate opportunity to hear those comments at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. So going back to you, Councilman Jenkins, consensus to move forward or no?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Goldsmith, you are my left to right on the screen. Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a yes, Mr. Manuel. All right, at this time, I would like to open public hearing on fiscal year 2024 financial/budget at 6:07 p.m. This is our second public hearing for this evening. The procedures will be the same as the last for the public hearing. Madam Clerk, has the notice of public hearing been properly advertised?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for the record, this public hearing was advertised in the Southern Maryland newspaper in the May 5, 2023 issue. Copy of the advertisement is attached to the meeting agenda. Notice of this public hearing was also advertised on the town webpage.
Thank you. Mr. Manuel, can you provide any recommendations on behalf of the staff regarding the fiscal year 2024 financial plan/budget for us this evening?
Yes, I can. Staff recommends adoption of the FY 2024 fiscal plan, if you will, at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Town council have questions for Mr. Manuel or staff this evening regarding the fiscal year 2024 financial plan or budget? None from the web, none in person. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, have you received any additional written statements to be included in the record?
No, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, none have been received.
Okay, at this time, I see there's no one that has signed up to speak this evening in advance. Is there anyone here this evening that is looking to be heard for 3 minutes on the fiscal year 2024 financial plan and budget? Okay, seeing none. We are going to go to the closing of this public hearing on the fee schedule. Thank you. This concludes this public hearing on the 2024 financial plan/budget. And the town council will hear no further comments or questions regarding this issue. Time is 6:09 p.m. Do I have a consensus from the town council to proceed with legislation on the fiscal year 2024 financial plan or budget? Mr. Manuel, this is for a reading this evening.
At first reading, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Jenkins.
Yes, but I would still maintain my same comment for the record.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Goldsmith.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. And I am a yes, Mr. Manuel. Okay. This time we are going to go to the approval of minutes from last week's meeting of May 16th, 2023. Council have an opportunity to review those minutes, and I'm looking to see if anyone has a motion for approval of those minutes, May 16th.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes,
I move that we approve the May 16th, 2023 meeting minutes as presented.
thank you, Councilwoman. Is there a second? Thank you.
A second.
Well, thank you all very much. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of the approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 16, 2023, say aye.
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 Okay, all those opposed? All right, the motion carries. This time we are going to read the proclamation this evening, or click it or ticket. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is a proclamation, click it or ticket, May 22nd through June 4th, 2023. Whereas the safety and security of the citizens of the town of La Plata and surrounding areas are vitally important, and whereas a large percentage of citizens regularly drive or ride in motor vehicles on our roadways, and whereas 1 in 5 motorists, or 19% nationally, still fail to regularly wear their seatbelts while driving or riding in a motor vehicle, and whereas regular seatbelt use is the single most effective way to protect people and to reduce fatalities in motor vehicle crashes, and is supported by the laws of the state of Maryland. And whereas May 22nd through June 4th, 2023 has been named the National Click It or Ticket Law Enforcement Mobilization Period. And whereas across the country, law enforcement officers will actively be participating in the mobilization to ensure all motor vehicle occupants are buckled up every day and night, and to reduce the risk of injury and death caused in traffic crashes. And whereas increased enforcement of seatbelt laws coupled with publicity has proven to be an effective method to increase seatbelt use rates and decrease fatal crashes. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do recognize the period of May 22nd through June 4th, 2023 as Click It or Ticket, and urge all citizens to always wear seatbelts when driving or riding on our roadways. From the Council of the Town of La Plata and signed by Janine E. James, Mayor, James Goldsmith, Councilman, Matthew D. Trollinger, Councilman, Evelyn L. Bryant Ward, Councilwoman, and David M. Jenkins, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. This time, I'm going to welcome Chief Schinner for the monthly report.
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh,
I think we missed public comments.
oh, I apologize. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. Well, Chief Schinner is ready to go. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Manuel. And I have it circled here as well. So I see, is there anyone, Madam Clerk, who signed up in advance to speak tonight on public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, no one has signed up to speak.
Okay, anyone here that is present at this meeting like to speak this evening? No? Okay, thought about it. At this time, we're going to close public comment and welcome Chief Schinner at the appropriate time for his monthly report. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any questions I can answer about the report? I did want to let the council know that on June 30th, we have rescheduled the autism acceptance event. It'll be here at Town Hall.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Councilman Jenkins, any questions for the chief? I see Madam Mayor, yes.
Thank you very much. Chief, I just have one question. When you said, first of all, do my comment, great police presence in the community. It's fantastic to see the officers out with the 55 and above, as well as the kids on the bus, all of that. So thank you for that. That is really important to have a presence there on a very friendly basis. So kudos to you all. But my question for you is, in looking at your report, could you just tell me what the difference between a car stop is and then a warning, a citation, or equipment?
Yeah, I was having a hard time hearing you, Mayor. The question is about car stops and the difference between a warning and a citation. Yeah, a citation is something we issue somebody who usually does something more of a major traffic infraction, driving while suspended, speeding over 15 miles an hour, the limit. And then our officers have the discretion to write warnings. As you can see, historically, we usually write of the traffic citations or the traffic paper we write, about 25% is citations and 75% are warnings and equipment repair orders. The warnings are just a friendly reminder to slow down or whatever it may be. Don't do a California stop. And then a repair order is something if somebody has a headlight out, instead of adding insult to injury and writing a $50 ticket, we just write them a repair order that gives them 28 days to get the violation fixed and signed off. And then that form is sent to the Maryland State Police. And then the car stops is the total number of car stops our officers make in a month.
They don't add up, though. When I was looking at them, the numbers didn't add up. So that's why I was a little confused if that was different than one of the three categories you had.
That's a good question. So on a car stop, an officer may stop somebody because they have a headlight out and they'll give them a repair order. And then they may not have their registration card with them, so they might write them a warning. And then their license could be suspended so they could get a traffic citation. So it's not one piece of paper per car stop. There can be multiple, just depending on what's going on each individual car stop.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council President, anyone have any questions or comments for Chief? No. Okay, thank you, Chief. All right, Director Harrington, I believe you're joining us virtually this evening. If you could join
Yes,
us
sir.
and field any questions from council for your report. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Director Harrington, again, thanks for the report. I'm not sure this is the right question for you or the town manager, but are we still meeting with the State Highway Administration with respect to Charles Street? I know we had the public meeting on the 17th, but so we're still continuing to have our coordination meetings with them?
Yes, Councilman Jenkins, we had a wrap meeting the following morning at 9 a.m. Of course, we didn't have a lot of time for everything to settle in. So I think we're going to get the group back together to see if there are any thoughts that came up after the process, because, you know, we got out of here at 9 p.m. and we were back talking about it at 9 a.m. But the next steps are, I think the consultant was going to work with State Highway on some of the design options that they had presented. And do not recall exactly, maybe Janine does, the next step in the process. But I believe it is another public process. I'll have to go back to my notes, but I can update the council on that.
Thank you.
Director Harrington, can you advise us of the next step of that Route 6 process from the
I
state?
don't know off the top of my head. I do know that they are going to be posting materials to the website that they had posted. I see that hasn't been done yet. So as soon as we get an update on that, we'll make sure to post that to the town's website as well and keep everyone updated moving forward.
Okay, thank you. And I know Councilman Goldsmith was there. I was there. It's a very packed house that evening. A lot of good community engagement. Director Harrington, I know you answered a lot of questions from the residents as they came in and had questions about Route 6 or other intersections in the neighborhoods and that are going in. So I appreciate your work that evening and the rest of our staff as well as we look towards the future for Route 6. If there's no other questions for Director Harrington, it looks like Director Stahl is ready to go here.
The podium was empty. I wanted to fill
You
it.
want to keep it warm for yourself. Madam Mayor, anything for Director Harrington?
Just a great job on the code revisions that you're doing, and thank you for that. That's very important to us.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I guess Director, yep, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Director Stahl, I want to compliment you and the staff and the town manager and assistant town manager and I know this is difficult, but providing some pretty good advance notice of when and where you're going to be doing paving operations. And I fully empathize that it's difficult given the weather conditions, but I've attempted to use those and put them on different, like on Nextdoor and my own Facebook page. And I've, not me, but it's gotten some positive feedback that at least people know it's coming. So thank you for that. And they did a good job the other day in Clark's Run. Thank you.
Councilman Goldsmith?
And following in that suit, I guess Washington Square has a lot of personnel or people there who have been prone to complain, but there were no complaints on this project and how it was done, and it was a very good job. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councilman Brian Ward?
Yes, Director Stahl, on the Mueller updates,
Mhm.
It would appear that we would have had these all 100% installed by now, but we're still hovering around 92%. What is the correlation between the data collection and connectivity to the meter upgrades? Because why would we would be collecting 91% read rate?
What happens, it's a challenging situation. When we originally bought the system, we were told that it was a self-correcting system. So if we went in, for instance, and replace a meter or a node, and we activate that into the system, that then that meter would actually go in and would be actuated into the system and would correct itself within the mesh network. That's not the case. Everything has to be entered into manually. And so every time we go out and we find a meter, and part of our problem is we don't necessarily know where the communications are because they control the communications. So we have to get an update from them as to where the communication problems are in the mesh network, to then be able to go out, schedule something with the homeowner and get to be able to get in to see the meter, because very few of our meters, I believe the number's around 400 out of the 3,600 plus meters that we have in town are actually pit meters outside that we can directly get to. The other 3,000 plus are inside people's homes, inside buildings. And so we do have to schedule times to get in there. So there's a lag time between this. What we're finding is as quickly as we get them repaired, we're having others that go dead for some reason. It can be a battery issue. It can be the reader is not actuated somehow. It's not actually functional. And it has been extremely frustrating for us because we've been hovering in that 92, 93% range, and it's been extremely difficult to get above that. And right when we do, we jump right back down to 92. If you remember, at one time, we were down in the low 60s, and we've recovered a lot. We're not where we want to be, but it has proven to be extremely difficult. And I'm equally as frustrated with it because in so many ways, my own staff and the time that's being required to go and send two people to people's houses all the time to go in, fix this problem. And not only do we fix the problem, but then we have to turn around and then wait for Mueller to come back and to fix it in the network. And that's that's the challenging piece of this is it's not self-correcting. So it's not, when we go out and put a meter in, it won't go active until somebody down at MyNet actually actuates it and puts it back and fixes it in their network. And that's what has become extremely frustrating, is that as Mueller has gotten larger and they're selling more and more and more of these systems every day, the network administrators down there, it's very, very difficult for them, because I think they thought that they would be in a self-correcting situation, but they haven't gotten there yet. And they're dealing with some very large cities at this point. And it's trying to keep everyone corrected, and it's a nightmare. It really is. And, you know, it's not, we're working with it. I will tell you, it's been a very frustrating last couple of weeks, because we're actually out physically having to read meters, because we're actually doing reads and cutoffs. And, you know, it's like with cutoffs, when we do cutoffs right now, instead of going into the network and being able to shut the meter off, in those cases where we're not responding with the meter, we have to go out and do it physically out in the field. And that, you know, equates to a lot of time.
I thought that us moving to Mueller was going to be a great improvement over our previous process. My last question would be, is the fact that the meters aren't reading accurately, would that have an impact on residents' water statements, water bills, or no?
It wouldn't, in the long run. It could potentially, if for instance, they estimated a bill,
There you go.
then it might potentially be an adjustment in the situation. But ultimately, when it starts reading, the meters, we bought a dual read system.
Mhm.
So it reads manually as well as electronically. And that electronic comes from a manual meter reading. We're not having any problem at all with the manual part of the meter. So the meter is reading accurately. It's just getting the electronic signal to us. And so, you know, ultimately we know exactly what water is being used. And so I don't question that in my mind, but I think it is, I think it has residents questioning the accuracy in the situation. We had originally purchased some, they're tubular meters, where they literally just read by the water passing through the tube. It's a complete electronic meter. I was very unhappy that we were going to have to do that, because it didn't give us the manual read as well. It was just pure electronic. And if something happened to the electronic, we lost all account of what that water is. I'm very confident that the manual and electronic reads that we have are accurate. They do monitor it. And if there's ever a question in there, we can go back to that home, read the actual physical reading, and make sure that exactly what is there is accurate.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Director Stone.
Thank you, Director Stahl. Any other questions? Okay.
I just wanted to point out that we are finishing paving this week, so we will be finishing up the paving project. And that is, I think, has progressed nicely. I appreciate the comments, and just want to let everyone know that we will be finishing, and then we'll be coming back in the fall again.
And Director Stahl, you want to update them on the Centennial St. Mary's, what the timeline is to convert that intersection?
Our intention is that we will be putting in the stop bars and the crosswalks fairly soon. The striping, we're going to wait a little bit of time, but we're hopeful that later on, towards late summer, that we would be activating a four-way stop in that situation. I mean, we want to be sure and put out plenty of notice, and I think we just need to sit down and put together a communication plan to put that out there. But I will say, since we put the signage up, I'm not aware of any accidents. Are you, Chief, at all aware of any accidents at St. Mary's and Centennial? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have Ms. Larson on the call now?
Yes, I believe she is.
Okay, great. Ms. Larson,
Hello, how are you?
hey, good to see you. Thank you for being available even out west. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Larson this evening on her monthly report? Yes, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Thank you for the report and specifically the graphics. They seem to help me a lot understand where we are with expenditures. So I appreciate the effort to provide more graphics. I know it's probably not an easy task, but thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Quick question for you. Did we
Yeah.
ever get the results from the commissioners and our tax differential, what it was or what it will be for FY24?
I have not received anything as of yet.
Okay, I haven't either, but I didn't know if it would go to you first, so thank you for that.
Mhm.
Ms. Larson, is there an expected time frame for that?
I'm not sure, but I will reach out and find out. I know that I will be reaching out to Eric Jackson, who handles our real property assessments once we approve the tax rate, and I will ask him about that at the same time.
Okay. No other questions at this moment from council? It does not appear. So thank you, Ms. Larson. We'll be talking to you in just a couple of moments, I believe. Okay, at this time, Director Phipps. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council.
Any questions for Director Phipps? No?
Win.
Yes. Well, Madam Mayor, got the hand up.
I couldn't let her go without that. There are actually two comments. Fantastic job on getting the firehouse painted. And I wanted to say that to Bobby too, the director Stahl. It looks amazing. And then the other thing is I am so encouraged that we are getting on the launch of our new website will be in August, well overdue. So thank you for your hard work on all fronts, but especially those two.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to commend Roy's Painting Service for their help in doing and carrying out this painting project. They have been over the top with helping us identify some problems that we didn't even realize and adjusting and helping out in ways that we didn't even include in our scope of work. So
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kennedy, welcome. Any questions for Ms. Kennedy this evening? Yes, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Again, appreciate the comprehension of the report and the graphics. I had one question. You say that we have a 4% turnover rate
In Q1, yes.
in Q1. So is that high or low, or is there a standard or?
Individually for the town, I can't tell yet if
Right.
it's normal for you because I'm still collecting data.
Yes.
And trying to build something that wasn't there before.
Okay.
But 4% is not anything I would be worried about at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, appreciate the data, and I think more than justify why you're here.
The longer that I'm here, the more graphics you'll get.
Right, but I mean,
As I fill in that data.
I mean, the point being that you're filling a role that, and you're, that we authorize, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Goldsmith, Madam Mayor, no? Councilwoman
No
Bryant.
further questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one question. So do we have a plan for the replacement of the town clerk?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Director Phipps and I have interviews on Wednesday and Friday.
Excellent, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, don't go too far, right? So now it brings us to matters of council discussion. Employee retirement plan update from Ms. Kennedy and Ms. Larson. Thank you both for being available here. I know you gave us a memo and now we've got essentially an addendum, kind of a simpler request from council, but if you could like start us off here with context, either Ms. Kennedy or Ms. Larson here, as to where we're at, what you're looking for.
I guess I'll start. So when we started talking with Bolton, there was a bit of a confusion about what the plan's going to look like and what our process was. And they put together an proposal originally for just administrating the plan. And then we went back and said, hey, we actually need a study because we need to know where we're at or how much the plan would cost. And then there was a confusion about what the council was actually looking for. I was under the impression that it was going to be equitable amongst all employees. The PD thought it was going to be a hybrid plan for them, and we were going to stay at the current benefits that we have with MSRA. So originally, we were looking at more guidance, but as we went through this and questions come up, we really want to head in the direction whereas does the council want us to do a study that would tell us what the cost of our current pension plan benefits would be if we brought it in-house and had it managed before we start looking at other plans? And then also if the council was interested in doing a benefit study to see where we are currently at as providing benefits to employees based on other organizations similar to us. So we're kind of looking for direction on, do you want us to pursue the benefit study and the cost of our current pension plan if brought in-house before pursuing anything else, looking at other plans?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to council. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So, Ms. Larson, Ms. Kennedy, I really feel bad for you because you're coming in and you're starting at ground zero. We've had these discussions, and I want to be clear. We value all of the town's employee. We want the best retirement plan for all of the town's employee, but we did want to look at the police officers separately because the dynamics and I'm not saying that any one job is more stringent than the other. I know that the biggest threat for me is not meeting my budget and not having staffing, but I don't feel like I'm going to lose my life, with that threat. Our police officers going out daily, seeing the things they see. I was in the military, I get it. For them to have the same years of vesting and retirement as someone who sits behind a desk, again, I'm not minimizing it. That's not a good look. So it wasn't that we want equitable, but equitable doesn't mean that it's the same plan for everybody. We want to improve the plan that we have. I read the questions from the memorandum for May 2nd. We definitely, and I'm saying we, and I apologize, council members, I'm going to say me. My idea was that when I learned that our town staff will retire, and some of them have been here so long, and they retire and they don't have health benefits, that didn't go over well. Because Medicare is not a guarantee. Medicaid is not a guarantee. And so I thought that we would, after we got the information from Lieutenant Norris almost a year ago, we looked at LEOPS. We immediately was able to weed that out. The police officers understood that that wasn't the best plan because we saw other ideas that was better. And so I thought that we were now, after we looked at it, Mr. Granville told us something that we could do on our own that would address the needs of the town staff and address the concerns and needs of our police officers. And therefore, we landed with that RFP. So it wasn't that we wanted to duplicate the MSRA. Because it is what it is. We wanted a better plan for all employees, and we wanted to take into consideration the years of retirement required for our police officers. I probably won't retire until I'm about 80, but I can't imagine an 80-year-old police officer on our streets. I can't imagine them doing this for 65 years. Our military officers, they retire at 20. Because of the things that they see and they're exposed to. And so that, and I think I pretty much addressed all of we know that Mr. Manuel did share with us, this won't happen this year. We're clear. We know that we're looking at next year, so we've got time. To talk about the percentages, I can't imagine what the percentages would actually be without the actuarial study. And so my thought would be, that we would pick up where we left this conversation off, looking at a plan that's better for all employees. And I don't even know if there can be a 3-tiered plan, because I mean, I look at the strenuous work that our public work departments do, not the administrative piece of the police officers, not the admin side of the public works, but those folk who are physically up at midnight fixing water main breaks and all of those type things. So that was my thought about where we were headed. So I was really, and I do understand that you came in at the tail end of this and you may not have the actual background conversation, but I was really disappointed to see we were back at square one with the memo and questions being asked, but I do understand why. So those are my thoughts, and I apologize again, Council, for speaking and saying we. Those were my thoughts. I went back and I did the review of the conversations we had, the RFPs that we had in place, and the information that clearly said that LEOPS was not the way to go from Lieutenant Norris. He did an excellent job of that. And I thought we were headed, we were really already on the road to having this done. So I hope I was clear. I may have rambled a little bit, but I hope I was clear with what I would like to see.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brightward. I can't see on the video. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah,
you're in charge.
I thought not at all. I'm just
Mr. Mayor
disappointed
Pro
on
Tem,
passing the
Mayor James
balls.
would like the floor.
Okay, I think Ms. Kennedy might have had a comment to Councilwoman Bryant Words, if we may. I can't see the.
I wanted to make a comment on a couple things, if I can. One thing I want to state is, even if we did the study, part of the study would include a study of our current plan and the cost of that current plan to bring it in. So no matter what, the study would do that first. And then I would recommend re-looking at it when the study's done. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that the study does not include health insurance, and what they were pursuing would not include health insurance. And that is like another piece that needs to be considered. And that would be a separate piece. That would be part of an, I guess, a post OPEB plan for employees, which was not being addressed at all in the proposal from Bolton.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. I was merely going by looking at your memo and asking the other considerations that you asked and providing an answer to that. And my answer is yes.
Okay, very good.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much for bringing this back to council. It is a very important to our entire council. One item that Councilwoman Bryant Ward had expressed is our police, and I not only agree with that, but it's got to be the public works as well. Those, as Councilwoman Bryant Ward added, that they're boots on the ground, but I'm looking for equitable. I'm a little concerned about pulling out of the Maryland state pension plan for many reasons. That's why we do studies. I'm not a big fan of studies, but they give us the answers we're seeking. And so for me personally, really feel like we need to look at what if we do bring it in-house and the pros and cons. You've got people that may be vested 9 years with the Maryland state pension system that if we move over would lose that. How would it benefit, how would it impact them? I don't know. I am fortunate enough that I don't have to worry about that, but that's the military where my husband's been serving for 36 years. So we have that pension and that health care. So I am not, I want to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity on that. So for my voice to be heard, I think that we do a study. We see how much it costs in time, effort, how many benefits we get if we do bring it in-house, or do we keep with the Maryland State pension system and have something like a 401k or something that we can contribute to a retirement? That's all I have. I just wanted to let you know where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Miss, is it Kennedy?
Mhm.
Does the mayor, if we were to pull out of a plan, we just had that at the hospital and my benefits stayed in that plan for me. Nothing can be added, nothing can be taken away until I retire. Then we had a second plan that we rolled over into our new 401 B plan. And so what happens, is it that the benefits won't roll over? Are you saying that if we pull out of the MSRA, they would lose their investment? That doesn't.
If it's our intent to completely withdraw from the Maryland State and go into a private one, then whatever the guidance and the rules are of the new plan is likely what we would have to follow. But that would be part of the conversation as we move forward, is to finding out, like, what are they going to consider or keep from the prior plan?
No. My question is, if we were to go to a new plan and folk are vested in the current plan, does that amount that they have vested for however many years, are you saying that they lose that amount? Or
Potentially. We just don't know until we find out what that new plan offers. They may honor existing vesting and the new plan may be like, no, everybody starts at 0.
So if it doesn't,
But the rules may be different.
If they don't honor the vesting, what happens to the funding? Does it stay in that plan for that member to access at retirement?
I believe everybody has to stay in Maryland and contribute. So if we're not contributing, it's at Maryland will let for me.
Right. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not clear. I'm not asking that we stay. So we decide we pull out of the MSRA. We're going to a new plan, but we have members that are vested in MSRA. Their funding can't just evaporate and go away. Surely it stays there for them to access it.
Their money will go into the
Okay, so it goes over.
Right, but your vesting may not.
Okay,
But your money will follow. Yeah, your money comes with.
So we're not losing the money.
No.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, the money
Okay.
stays.
Thank you.
Just a quick question and follow-up from Councilwoman Bryant Ward. I heard you say a lot of may, might, possibly, potentially. So this thought or fear is based on an unknown, not based on a.
Right, and until we have a plan presented for us from another, from a private organization, we don't know what their rules are because it's not standard. Every private company may have different rules and different ways that they manage their accounts.
Okay. But this, I got it. So this is just something to consider that.
Right, it's things that we
it
have to
could
think
be
about.
a problem. You're not saying it's necessarily
Might not be.
likely or even probable, but
Right.
potentially possible.
Right, it's just, things that we will have to look and ask for as we move to a new plan.
Definitely. Of course. Okay, of course.
I just wanted to point out one thing. When they do the study to see what it would to bring in what we currently have in-house, they would be making it based on what plan the employee is currently in. So if the employee was in the plan prior to July 1st of 2011, they're going to be in the alternative plan, and those who hired after would be in the reform plan, and the benefits would be based on that.
Okay. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you, Councilman Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. I would generally concur with the remarks made by Councilwoman Bryant Ward in terms of equitable and the place, with due respect, are somewhat different, but it has to be fair for all county staff because they're valued and they do great work for the town. I have to tell you, I'm a little befuddled, and maybe that happens a lot, but I thought we would be further along. And these are good questions and valid questions, but for me, we don't know the answers until we do the study.
Correct.
So wait, just let me finish, please. So my point is, we can amend the RFP to incorporate some of these issues and concerns. But for me, how can we make any intelligent decision until we have those numbers that says, here's plan A, whatever that is, or B or C or D, and what are the costs to the employees? What are the implications to the employees? What does it cost the town? So until we have that information, and again, what Councilman Trollinger said, it may or may not, could be, whatever. I get that, but in order for me to make an informed decision, I like to see a comparison with the numbers, and we don't have that yet. So I'm asking, can we get the study completed? That's what I'm trying to get to. Thank you.
Could I say something, please?
Yes.
This is part of, so the study, we do have a proposal for the study, but the confusion started because we weren't sure how to pursue with the study, with the confusion of what the plan is going to look like, because the study is just for one plan. It is 35,000 for one plan. Part of the study would do would consider what we currently have and what the cost of that current plan is that we currently have. And then they would do one study. So we have to have a consensus on what you're looking for them to do that study, because if we do multiple studies, that cost to do will go up even more. So right now there is a proposal for one study, but we have to have a consensus on what we want from that study. Like if you want a COLA, and then they're going to calculate if you want retirement 55, but you can't have, okay, well, let's do one at 50, one at 55 for the police, one at 60. You've got to have a consensus for what plan you want to have the study for, because that's what the proposal's for. So I'm just trying to make sure we communicate to them what you guys want, because if we come back and say, well, this is too expensive, we're going to be shelling out even more money to do another study of a different plan, basically.
Councilwoman Bryant Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Town Manager,
Mhm.
we've had, correct me if I'm wrong, multiple studies done about this thing. Did we have a study done for just the police officers?
Yeah, I think when we were considering LEOPS, there were actuarial studies done that, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, that just totally addressed the police department. Yeah.
Was it just for LEOPS?
Yes, I believe it was just for LEOPS, because LEOPS is a program through Maryland State Retirement. I think what Karina is getting to is that what we're looking at doing is piggybacking off a existing RFP that was awarded to Bolton by the city of Rockville, I believe. So we're trying to make sure that what that RFP, the details, specifics within that RFP are going to be close enough for us to sort of extrapolate the information that we hope to ascertain through our study. And if not, do we have the ability to amend different elements in our agreement with them without confusing things more by, legally staying within the procurement laws and not, buying a Chevy and turning it into a Ford to meet our needs, and sort of along the ways could be seen as being disingenuous or trying to skirt the procurement rules of the town. So that's sort of the challenge that we're facing, and correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I think the evaluation is from this information, we'll go back and we can communicate to Bolton and see maybe, if we, as Karina points out, that's a price for one plan. I'm not as worried about the prices. I'm worried about getting the information that we want. And if we have to pay more to get the information that the council needs to make an educated decision, then I'm willing to negotiate that. What I don't want to do is piggyback off a contract and receive a sort of boilerplate that's not fitting the needs of the town. So herein lies the rub, so to speak. So I think the thing is we need to go back and have a conversation with Bolton based on the information we received from council tonight. I know you want to say something, so I'll shut up now.
No, you're fine. But so there were multiple RFP examples that Lieutenant Norris provided, and several of them did, have tiered, retirement elements to the plan, and I guess if tell us what questions you want to answer. I answered the questions on the memo. I'm not saying just go do a study. I answered your detailed questions on the memo to make it clear of what I would like to see. If you need that from all council members and the mayor, then say that so that we know how you need to move forward. But you know, I'm clear, we need something for the boots on the ground, public works, for the police department, admin. I would love for our people who have been here for years and want to retire to not go home without health insurance, because I think that's critical, that they've spent that much time here and just go home with a retirement check, but no benefits at the time that they would need it. And so those are my thoughts. And I'm not looking to piggyback off of the Maryland State Retirement Agency, because if we did, we could just stay there. If it was worth piggybacking off of, if it were beneficial, we wouldn't be looking at moving. And so those are just my thoughts. And I want to again clarify, I am not saying that one department is more important than the other. I am saying all of our town staff is important, but the elements of their jobs are totally different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Brightwood. Yes, Ms. Larson. I see you have two hands raised compared to Madam Mayor's one, so we'll go with two first. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do two. What I think we're not conveying this as clearly as I'm trying to. I want you guys to understand the cost involved in a pension plan. I talked with Bolton about their process. And one thing they had brought up to me is the first thing they're going to do is compare what we currently have to see what the cost is. And then from there, we would then ask for what our quote unquote wish list is. If we want police officers to be to retire at 55 with 2% of their salary for the number of years that they worked, or if we want a COLA, and they said the more you want in this plan, the higher the cost is going to be. And I'm very concerned that we're going to get into a point where we want this plan, and then suddenly when they do the study for the plan, we can't afford it because it's going to cost an extra $1 million a year or whatever it's going to be. So I'm very concerned with trying to make sure we understand, because health insurance is a different piece of the plan, and how much are we going to put towards health insurance? And if we want to do the health insurance, are we going to do it like a plan for them, or are we going to do a health arrangement account for them? Or I guess I'm trying to get some kind of conciseness on what you want, and just bear in mind that the more you want or provide, and I get it, we want to take care of the employees, the higher the cost is. And right now with the budget that we have, there's not a lot of wiggle room. And these are going to be ongoing costs that we're going to have to make sure we have the revenue to cover every year. So I think the first thing we should do is do the study and see what our current plan costs, and then determine how much more are we going to be willing to spend for this plan, and then talk with Bolton and say, okay, this is our budget. What can we get for this? And we have to think about health insurance, because health insurance is a separate piece. It's not part of the pension plan. And if we're going to do health insurance, we've got to think about that cost too.
But I believe it all starts with the study.
Yeah. I mean, again, I mean, for me, there's no argument. It costs money, but we don't have any idea what it costs. So I get it. It's going to be a budget problem. But again, if we don't have the numbers, we're speculating here. So again, why can't we amend the RFP, or if possible, do another RFP to incorporate what we want, so Bolton does the study, so we get the numbers to make a decision?
So we don't need to amend the RFP. The RFP includes a study of what we currently have. Once we get that, then we can tell them what we want, and they'll continue with the study, which is part of the RFP.
Mr. Manuel, didn't Mr. Greenville give us an analysis of the MSRA and what it would cost us already? So that exists. So why do we need that again? It exists.
That's only through the MSRA.
Right.
for bring it in-house is going to be a different cost, and we have no idea what that's going to be. That's
I'm clear on that.
out of there.
I'm clear on that, but you're saying that we need to first look at what is costing us through the MSRA, and I'm saying we have that information.
Yes, yes. We just don't know what it costs the town to provide the same benefits as Maryland State Retirement, bringing it in-house.
Is that proposed at this point? Is someone
That's-
proposing to bring it all inside in-house, or do we have? Because I think and Madam Mayor, I'm sorry you're not benefiting from being here live. So, but just this question here is, as I understand it, it's proceeding with the Rockville RFP with some amendments to it, asking of tiers, right? That's what you've asked for. Are we comfortable with a different system setup, depending on maybe job requirements or status, et cetera, or something completely different, private in-house? Is that your question for us? Because what's being proposed, I guess.
It's not a question. It's more saying the study would include that of what we currently have. If we decide to do in-house, and all employees have to be enrolled in the Maryland State Retirement or not. So either way, we're either going to go in-house completely, or we stay with the Maryland State Retirement and develop something else to compensate those employees that would want to retire early, such as the 457 contribution. But we can't say, okay, we're going to put this group of employees in MSRA and this group employee for a private plan. It's with MSRA, it's all or none.
Okay, I think that's understood. Madam Mayor?
So if I can kind of wrap this all up, right now we've got a study that you're looking for guidance, consensus for us to move forward. We have a study of what it would cost for the MSRA, and you're looking for Bolton to say, hey, if we take it in-house, this is how much it's going to cost. All right, so it's the broad strokes to begin with. And then once we get those numbers, then we can start getting into the weeds. But we can't get into the weeds, and it does feel like we are going backwards, but we've got a new human resource director and a new treasurer. So unfortunately, sometimes that's the name of the game. But I understand what you're looking for us is to go with the Bolton and to see what it would cost us if we were to bring everything in-house, and then we can start getting into the weeds. Yes?
Yes.
All right. I am for that.
Okay, any further discussion or questions before we look for a consensus? Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
I apologize. I'm just not clear. I don't ever remember us saying that the ultimate goal was to bring it in-house. And I do understand that this is, and I stated that in my initial comments, that I know that both of you are new, so this is where we are. So I'm clear on that. But it was never, ever decided that we were trying to bring it in-house. What we were trying to do is get a retirement plan for the police officers that will, one, help us retain them and make them want to stay here and not have them retiring at 80. And I know that's an exaggeration. And then we wanted to make sure that the public works individuals who are boots on the ground, we wanted something for them. Admin, something for them. How that happens, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm answering the questions of the elements that we wanted to see, and that's what we wanted to see. Now, if that means that we've got to duplicate studies that we've done multiple times, before you got here, we were at this point. Mr. Granville gave us numbers. Those numbers told us what it would look like. It didn't look as bad as we had thought, given the existing staff and the plan for future officers that we had gotten back from the whatever that study was we did for the salary and compensation study that we did. So then we knew where we were moving towards. The ask of Lieutenant Norris, after we agreed, LEOPS is not the issue. We're not having it, we're good. We see other plans out there that could do better than LEOPS and not cost us an arm and a leg. So this is where we landed. He went out, he found an RFP that pretty much mirrored what we were asking for. I understand you're saying the RFP is not, we can't do that without the study, but I don't want to spend money on a study for information we already have. And Miss Larson, just give me a minute. I don't want, I'm not saying that we spend money for information we already have. Review the information we already have, and I trust the town's manager and yourself and Miss Kennedy to come up with the next steps. But I don't think the next steps is spending money we've already spent and for information we already have.
So are you looking for an additional pension plan?
I'm looking for the best way to get what we're asking achieved. And I'm leaving that entirely up to the town manager, yourself, and Miss Kennedy.
Because the RFP or the proposal that Rockville has is an internal plan. The Rockville plan is their own private plan.
But if that's where we land, then I'm fine with it. We have other RFPs. If you want to take a look at those other RFPs to see if there's something better in there that would help meet our objectives, I don't care. I trust you to do the work. I'm giving you the information you requested from my perspective, and I know the other council members and the mayor will share what they want to see. And then once you have that, you have carte blanche to go ahead and make it happen. And that's it. We're not trying to put you in a box and tell you to achieve these things one way, in only one way. We're asking that we were told that the RFP that we currently are working with was the best RFP. If you're saying now that it is not, then look at the other ones and see if they have elements that will help us accomplish our goal.
The RFP that was currently out is for a study. It's to study the plan or the process, like I had said before, is to first look at what it would cost for our current benefits in-house. And that's part of that RFP. And then it develops a plan for whatever the town wants, but it's still a private plan. So I'm now kind of confused. Are we looking at to stay in the Maryland State Retirement and look for additional pension plans for the PD and Public Works? Or are we looking at a plan completely for everybody, but with tiers, one each, certain benefits for the PD, certain benefits for Public Works, and benefits for administration? Now, I did look at the Rockville plan that they actually have that the PD has been referencing, and that is not, it's not equitable to everybody else as far as what they currently have with MSRA. So I wouldn't recommend following that. I'm trying to find out what you guys are actually looking for, because we really have, right now, the only choices on the table was going private or with MSRA. We can look at, see if what else is out there that's not private or MSRA, but we have not done that.
Ms. Larson, I think where we started was you were looking for the intent of the council. And I think what's been heard is what our intent was for a plan, right? The method or the means for which that is accomplished is not our expertise, right?
Okay.
What we want to see in a plan, I think, has been pretty well spoken for by Councilwoman Bryant Ward, Councilman Jenkins. I think we've all been on the record saying in the past that to have an efficient, healthy, active, appropriate police force, we don't want them hanging on at the end, trying to retire later on in their active duty based on the physical and vigorous nature of their employment. That's why the legislature with the state has set aside workers' compensation benefits completely separate for first responders, public safety, and that's just a given in that environment. So that being said, we're very clear. We're not looking for something to put, our current employees or Public Works at a disadvantage. And so again, I think, looking back at our amended PowerPoint, thank you, Director Phipps, for bringing us back up here. I think we've answered question 1.
Yeah.
Is there still confusion on that? Ms. Larson, on behalf of us, do you need a person by person
No.
vote?
I
No.
don't even understand.
Okay. And you've told us that including benefits as part of the plan and study, you've told us tonight that's not part of this plan and study, correct?
Not this proposal. The proposal that was for the pension is specifically just for a pension. It does not include other health benefits. And that's why the memo went out to make sure you guys think of everything, not just the pension.
Right, and there's elements of this that we, as Councilman Jenkins stated, we can't possibly, I mean, these are things to consider. We appreciate that. Can't possibly venture into until we get that study completed. Mr. Manuel, as far as where we move from here, okay, I think we've kind of beaten this to death a little bit, but have we gotten to the point where we can move forward with the study or not?
Yes, I think we have what we need. It sounds like we do. To answer to the second question, does the town want to include benefits as part of the plan and study? Is that something we would have to include within this study, or is there something we could run a parallel study to sort of evaluate that and then fold it back in?
I would recommend running it in parallel and then meshing it at the end. But I mean, especially if we're looking at an early retirement potentially, then we want to make sure that we're looking at our benefits plans. And if we want to add retirement to what we already offer, we definitely want to look at the structure and the cost of that too. So I think that's equally important. And this is a perfect time to do this as all, looking at it as one big picture, but as two separate entities that are running together.
Okay. Is there a consensus to run a parallel study for the benefits plan that obviously would be affected by potential retirement stage? Councilwoman Ryan Ward.
Yes.
Councilman Jenkins.
Yes.
Councilman Goldsmith.
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, I say that hesitantly in that I know it's down the road, and I think that it should be looked at through our health partners. I don't know if that question has even been asked yet of those that get the health benefits, if there is a health retirement plan for that. I think the number one thing right now to concentrate on is the pension, and that's where I'm going. But I'm fine if the workload can be done by our current employees and we're not overloading them, then run a parallel. But if it's too encumbersome, I say concentrate on the task at hand.
And I would trust that they would let us know. You wouldn't propose that if it was going to be too burdensome on you. I hope, although you guys are all zealous in trying to give us all the information that we need. I appreciate that. And just to wrap it up, I appreciate both of your input, the memo. I think some of the, I don't want to say frustration, but some of the spiritedness of the debate is these questions were asked even before our time here on council. These are questions that have been grappled with for many, many years, and we took it upon ourselves to try to wrestle these issues early and often. And it did seem like we were spinning our wheels a little bit, but I appreciate us getting forward and moving in the right direction. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for your patience while Ms. Larson and I try to get up to speed.
Thank you. Yes. All right. For another lively discussion, Director Stahl, if you could come up here and bring us to our sewer pump station upgrades.
Pump station upgrades throughout town. The 5 pump stations that we were looking to upgrade are Mary Hall, Kings Grant 1, Clark's Run 1, Crossing Court, and Big Circle. What I bring before you tonight, interestingly enough,
are three of those: Clark's Run 1, Dig Circle, and Patuxent Court. And all we're doing in this situation is putting the exact replacement unit in there, except it's about 30 to 35 years newer than what's in there right now. So we are not changing anything. We are just swapping out all the equipment for new equipment. And we are keeping the Smith and Lovelace pump stations in that regard. The reason that you don't see the other pump stations is we're having to upgrade Mary Ball and Kings Grant for additional capacity. What I bring before you tonight is the equipment swap out for Clark's Run 1, Dig Circle, and Patuxent Court, and you see the prices down there for a total of $355,737.50. I believe this is actually fair pricing for that swap out. But I want you to know that this is a sole source procurement, because in order to go with Smith and Lovelace, we have to go with Freemeyer and Associates because they are the dealer for this area, for Maryland, for Smith and Lovelace. So I don't have any choice if I'm going to do an exact swap out, but to go through the licensed dealer, which is Freemeyer and Associates. We don't necessarily like to do that, but the bottom line is when you're buying, any of this, if you buy Smith and Lovelace parts, we have to go through Freemeyer. If you have a Ford car, you can if you want Ford parts, you have to go to Ford. And, in this case, that's what happens here with Freemeyer. They have the territory here, and so we have to deal with Freemeyer. So I want everyone to know, and this is the case. It is within our what we budgeted for in the original $1 million was $500,000 to upgrade the Mary Ball pump station, and we did $125,000 on the other four: Kings Grant 1, Clark's Run 1. It turned out that due to the length of the force main at Kings Grant, I can't do an exact swap out because I'm not comfortable with the gallonage provided with the existing pumps. It's much lower than what we should have over there. So we're looking at having to do an upgrade, which means I have to go re-permit the whole damn thing through MDE. And so it does irritate me in the situation, but I really need to bring that pump station up to standard. It is pumping at a much lower speed, but that is our longest force main. It is a 7,200 foot force main. It pumps all the way from Kings Grant 1 pump station back on, back there at the, at the pond, all the way up to the manhole that's directly across from La Plata High School. So it's a very long force main, and with the head pressures and everything else in that line, it is requiring some larger pumps. When we do the calculations, the current pumps pump 110 gallons per minute. We really should be up around 250. So we're going to make some upgrades there, and so I'm going to have to go back to the permitting. But I want to get these ordered. It's a 28-week lead time. I do think it's the best thing for the town of La Plata, and it will upgrade those 3 pump stations up to a very modern standard. I bring that for you tonight, and I would ask you to move it to legislation and pass this so that we can get it ordered. And it is a 28-week lead time, so it's going to take some time to get it in. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
I don't have a question, but I remember when we got that ARPA funding, we said, we don't know how we're going to spend this money. You found a way there.
Oh, I have plenty of ways to spend ARPA, but I honestly said to you when we were doing this that I believe that spending ARPA money on infrastructure is a very positive way to spend American Rescue Plan Act money. It does go right back into what we need to do. And what we're upgrading in those neighborhoods, as you know, those are older neighborhoods. Dave, you live in Clark's Run. When was your home built?
77.
77.
I wasn't there then, but.
But as I say, your home is 40
Yeah.
plus years old.
Correct.
And so
Right.
that pump station was there. And so it's a 40 plus year old pump station. And so that's what we need to bring forward here. And that's what this is about.
And essentially, this is proprietary.
It is. In order to avoid going back and going through a complete redesign, this is where we are allowed under Maryland state law to swap out equipment. And so we're going to take the entire Smith and Lovelace unit, pick it up, take it out, put the suction lines on the new one and stick it back down into the wet well. And it'll be an equipment change out, not a change in the pump station.
Got it. Thank you. So.
Just a real quick question, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. So you're obviously comfortable with the pricing, even though it's sole source?
Yes,
I mean, it's competitive then.
we believe that is. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Manuel.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to council's attention, first of all, identify that sole sourcing is not a standard practice, but for the reasons that Director Stahls mentioned, but also we have a unique situation where our procurement policy requires us to publish a notice of intent, which we will do in the Maryland Independent on this matter. It will be published, I believe, on the 26th of May. And so the resolution, which typically our resolutions are approved upon adoption. This one will be delayed until May 30th. And I think our quote is good until June 1st. So we wanted to, in order to stay and make council aware that this is a unique situation, but the resolution will become effective May 30th, which will keep us within the quote that we have, as I said, that expires on June 1st.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. So at this time, I'm looking for a consensus to move this forward to legislation.
When it gets to legislation.
Yes. So is there a consensus to move this towards legislation so we can get to those motions later? Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
Yes.
Hey, you read ahead. I can only read so fast. Councilman Jenkins?
Yes, move forward.
All right. Councilman Goldsmith?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Mayor is nodding in favor as well. Thank you, Mr. Stoll.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, this brings us to legislation. Mr. Manuel.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Town Council. First item we have is ordinance 22-13 fiscal year 2024 tax rate. This is for a second reading and for consideration of adoption. An ordinance concerning Town of La Plata FY24 tax rate for the purpose of adopting the Town of La Plata FY24 tax rate and all matters generally relating thereto.
Okay, do I have a motion in support of ordinance 2313?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
I move that we adopt ordinance 23-13, Town of La Plata FY24 tax rate.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion at this time? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mr. Manuel?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Town Council, ordinance 23-14, fiscal year 2024. I'm sorry, am I reading the same one? Fee schedule? No. All right, great. Just want to screw this up. Ordinance 23-14, fiscal year 2024 fee schedule. This item is for introduction only. An ordinance concerning fiscal year 2024 fee schedule for the purpose of adopting the fee schedule, dealing with fees set by the Town of La Plata and all matters generally relating thereto.
Okay. Yes, Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
So do we not need to approve the ordinance 2313 Appendix A Heritage Green, or is that a part of the ordinance 2313 Town of La Plata FY24 tax rate?
Karina is still on, I'll allow her, but I think as an appendix, it should be.
It is part of it.
Okay.
It's the full, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. It's a great question. So Mr. Manuel, you're not looking for a vote on this tonight. This is first reading. Thank you. All right, that brings us to 2319. Correct? Any discussion, I guess, on the reading? There's no discussion needed.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, the next item is ordinance 23-15, fiscal year 2024 financial plan budget. And additionally, or excuse me, this is for introduction this evening. An ordinance concerning Town of La Plata fiscal year 2024 financial plan budget for the purpose of adopting the Town of La Plata fiscal year 2024 FY24 financial plan budget and all matters generally relating thereto.
Okay, thank you. And that's just for a read, right?
Yes, sir. That was just for a first reading.
Okay,
Introduction. The next item we have resolution 23-19 sewer pump station upgrades and equipment replacement. This item is for introduction and consideration of adoption. It's a resolution concerning sewer pump station upgrades and equipment replacement for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a professional service contract for the upgrade and replacement of equipment at the Patuxent Court, Diggs Circle, and Clark's Run 1 sewer pump stations and all matters generally relating thereto.
okay. Councilwoman Bryant Ward. You have a motion? Is that what you're
Okay.
clicking on?
All right. So I move that we authorize the bypassing of any and all bid procedure steps required by Town Charter, Section C 8-23 and Town Code Chapter 43, and approve the sole source bid from Freemeyer and Associates, Inc.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion at this time? No? Okay. All those in favor of the motion proposed by Councilwoman Bryant Ward to authorize the bypassing of any or all bid procedure steps required by Town Charter Section C 823 and Town Code Chapter 43 and approve the sole source bid from Freemeyer and Associates, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, hearing none. And we're looking for a second motion this evening to authorize the town manager to enter into a professional service contract agreement with Freemeyer and Associates Incorporated.
Mr. Town,
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Motion to, I move to authorize the town manager to enter into a professional service contract agreement with Freemeyer and Associates, Inc. for upgrades and equipment replacement at the Patuxent Court, Diggs Circle, and Clark's Run 1 sewer pump stations for a total expenditure of $355,737.57.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bryant Ward. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. Any discussion? Comment? No? All right, all those in favor of our second motion to authorize the town manager to enter into a professional service contract agreement, Freemeyer and Associates Incorporated, for upgrades and equipment replacement at the Patuxent Court, Diggs Circle, and Clark's Run 1 sewer pump stations for a total expenditure of $355,737.50. I'll say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, hearing none. Carries. Moving on to new business or commission reports. Councilwoman Bryant Ward. Thank you. Councilman Jenkins.
No report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Goldsmith.
No report today.
Okay, I do not have a report. Madam Mayor, do you have any reports or upcoming events?
Well, thank goodness. It gives me a little bit more time because we have so much going on this week and up in June. On the 25th, which is Thursday, our area is going to be recognized for the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area. We are the 56th region in the United States, and we will have the governor there speaking. That will be at Accokeek. On the 26th, which is Friday, is our first concert of our 2023 season, and we are kicking that off with Justin Taylor Band, which last year he was phenomenal, so I expect nothing less, and he is generating a lot of buzz on social media. On the 27th, which is Saturday, we have the second annual Gold Star Legacy Ride which supports the American Legion Scholarship Fund. They will be riding through. This fund benefits the children of post 9/11 veterans killed on active duty or certified by the VA as 50% or more disabled. And they have such a strong support, and I see that one of our fantastic attorneys, maybe Trollinger Law, is supporting this venture as well. They will be, the first bikes are out at 10:30, so that's a great thing to stop by and see. And then they will go down to the Veterans Museum down in Newburgh and spend some time down there. On the 29th of May, we will be having at the American Legion Post, they will be having a ceremony for Memorial Day. We will also have a ceremony on Friday before our first concert. And then, of course, we cannot forget that graduation is coming up, and that is high school graduation start May 31st. And that's McDonough, and we've got La Plata that's graduating June 1st. So that's coming up. We've got June 3rd. There's a parade down in Cobb Island, which we will be participating in. Our police will be there, as well as I will be there again. And then lastly, on June 10th, the Maryland Gold Star Legacy Run returns to La Plata. And I know many of us were there to wave them in with our American flags, and they will be there on Saturday. The run will be on Saturday, and they're expected somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock on that. And they will do what they do best, raising money for the Gold Star Legacy Run, and then they will depart again on Sunday. So a lot going on, and we're kicking off the summer season just right. So thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Great job on running 2 public hearings today. You didn't miss a beat. So I am boots on the ground this week, so I'm coming back.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Mayor, for the upcoming events and for participating even though you are on vacation or spending time with family. We appreciate it. This time I will hear any motions to adjourn. If you guys want to hang out, you can hang out. Councilman Goldsmith? Okay.
I believe.
Madam Mayor moves to adjourn. I will second the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye,
All right,
aye.
thank you.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right.
Enjoy,
I'm heading
Sam.
for some king crab.
Woo-hoo! Evelyn.